That non-stick pan in your kitchen? It poisoned 99% of Americans. That waterproof jacket? It killed babies. And the family that made billions from it knew everything and said nothing for 60 years. This is the story of the DuPonts, America's most dangerous industrial dynasty. They built empires on gunpowder, invented modern plastics, and then secretly contaminated the blood of every person on Earth with a chemical they knew was toxic. And when they got caught, their stock price went up. The DuPont story begins not in a chemical lab, but in the chaos of revolutionary France. In 1800, a French nobleman named Pierre Samuel DuPont de Nemours fled the guillotine with his sons and arrived in America seeking refuge. His son, Eleuthere Irénée DuPont, was a trained chemist who had apprenticed under the legendary Antoine Lavoisier. On a hunting trip in the American wilderness, he noticed that American gunpowder was terrible, weak, unreliable, and expensive. He saw opportunity where others saw wilderness. With $36,000 and support from Thomas Jefferson himself, he founded a powder mill along the Brandywine River in Delaware in 1802. The location was perfect. The steep, short river provided water power, and its open side meant that when the inevitable explosions happened, and they did, killing 228 workers over 119 years, the blast would shoot harmlessly across the water. DuPont quickly became America's leading gunpowder manufacturer, supplying the War of 1812 and growing rich on every American conflict. The Civil War was particularly profitable. Henry DuPont, a staunch Unionist, ensured no powder went to the Confederacy, while the Union's insatiable demand made the family fortune explode. By the late 19th century, under Lambert DuPont, the company had moved into dynamite and dominated the explosives industry entirely, but the 20th century brought something far more dangerous than gunpowder. After a near sale of the company, three young cousins, Alfred, Thomas Coleman, and Pierre DuPont, bought the family business for a bargain price and transformed it from an explosives company into a diversified chemical empire. They invested in General Motors, developed quick-drying automobile lacquers, and created tetraethyl lead, the gasoline additive that poisoned generations of children with lead. Then came the real moneymakers: nylon, neoprene, cellophane, and in 1945, the miracle product that would define the company and doom millions, Teflon. Teflon was discovered by accident in 1938 when chemist Roy Plunkett found a white waxy substance that was the most slippery material on Earth. By 1948, DuPont was producing 2 million pounds of it annually at its Washington Works plant in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Teflon-coated pans, waterproofed clothing, lined microwave popcorn bags, and made billions. But there was a dark secret hidden in its production, a chemical called C8, also known as PFOA. DuPont knew C8 was dangerous almost immediately. In 1954, company employees noted its likely toxicity. By 1961, internal lab tests linked C8 exposure to enlarged livers in rats and rabbits. The company's own toxicology section chief recommended it be handled with extreme care and that contact with the skin should be strictly avoided. In 1970, researchers found C8 was highly toxic when inhaled and moderately toxic when ingested. In 1979 and 1981, studies showed liver degeneration in rats exposed to even low doses. The company knew. They always knew. And they told no one that the horror became personal in 1981. 2 out of 7 pregnant women working in DuPont's Teflon division gave birth to children with severe birth defects. One baby, Bucky Bailey, was born with a single nostril and facial deformities that required years of painful surgeries. DuPont's response was not to stop using C8. It was to quietly remove all female employees from the Teflon division and continue production. A memo to staff read, "There is no known evidence that our employees have been exposed to C8 at levels that pose adverse health effects." They compared C8's toxicity to table salt. They were lying. By 1984, DuPont discovered C8 was contaminating public drinking water in Ohio and West Virginia at levels far exceeding what they considered safe. Meeting notes from corporate headquarters reveal executives knew that legal and medical will likely take the position of total elimination. But the available methods for cutting pollution were not economically attractive. So they did nothing. Instead, they increased production, dumped C8-laden sludge into unlined landfills, pumped it into the Ohio River, and released it from smokestacks. They buried toxic waste in drums along the riverbank and even dropped barrels into the open ocean. For decades, the people of Parkersburg drank, cooked, and bathed in poisoned water, while DuPont reassured them that everything was fine. The truth might have stayed buried forever if not for a cattle rancher named Wilbur Tennant. In 1998, Tennant sued DuPont after losing nearly 300 cows that had drunk from a creek near a DuPont landfill. When he cut open a dead cow, its internal organs were bright neon green. His attorney, Robert Bilott, forced DuPont to release internal documents, tens of thousands of pages that exposed 6 decades of deliberate deception. The documents revealed DuPont knew C8 caused cancer, birth defects, and organ damage. They revealed a 2001 email where scientists warned that airborne C8 might require the public to wear gas masks. They revealed in-house counsel Bernard Riley writing to his son, "The shit is about to hit the fan in WV. Fuck him," referring to the lawyer threatening to expose them. The documents revealed DuPont planned to push regulators to allow higher public exposure levels than even the company recommended, not because it was safe, but because they were already exceeding their own guidelines and didn't want to get caught. The fallout was catastrophic. A 2004 class action lawsuit led to a massive epidemiological study of nearly 70,000 people. After 7 years, the science panel confirmed a probable link between C8 and 6 diseases: testicular cancer, kidney cancer, thyroid disease, ulcerative colitis, pregnancy-induced hypertension, and high cholesterol. By 2003, DuPont had dispersed 2.5 million pounds of C8 into the mid-Ohio River Valley. The chemical was found in the blood of 99.7% of Americans. It never degrades. It is a forever chemical that will outlive everyone reading this. In 2005, DuPont paid $16.5 million to the EPA, the largest civil penalty in the agency's history, but environmental groups called it a slap on the wrist for a company that made that amount in a single day. In 2017, DuPont and its spin-off Chemours agreed to pay $671 million to settle 3,500 personal injury lawsuits. The company's stock price rose 1% that day and 4% 2 weeks later. Pollution, it turned out, was profitable. The DuPont family built their empire on innovation and exploitation. They started with gunpowder that won American wars, moved to chemicals that built modern industry, and ended with a poison that contaminated the blood of an entire nation. They knew, for 6 decades. They hid the evidence. They moved pregnant women instead of stopping production. They chose economically attractive options over human lives. And when the truth finally came out, they paid fines that were pocket change, spun off their liabilities into a new company, and watched their stock price climb. The DuPonts are not just America's most dangerous industrial family. They are the blueprint for how corporate power can poison a world and walk away richer than ever. The next time you cook with a nonstick pan, remember, the family that made it knew it was killing people before your grandparents were born. And they never stopped.